So here is a horizontal view, so we're cutting straight through. So you can see this big hole here, and these holes here. So which hole is this? Does anybody want to guess what the name of that hole is? What are the holes called? Ventricles. And which ventricle do you think that is? It's the lateral ventricle. So we saw that lateral ventricle actually sort of projects both forward and up, and then also to the side. The hippocampus here is actually sitting along. That's also the lateral ventricle right there. And then you can see this is the third ventricle sitting right in the midline, and that fourth ventricle which goes through that hole down. So this is the choroid plexus right here, which is producing all of that cerebral spinal fluid. You can see this is also lateral ventricle back here. I should point, I'm sorry, for the people on Unite. This is the lateral ventricle here. This is also lateral ventricle. This is choroid plexus. So that end, the anterior end, is the frontal lobe. There's the insula. So that's that part of the area, the brain, where the gustatory cortex is, your primary sensory cortex for your taste. There's the temporal lobe, which is the top is the auditory cortex. The bottom is a lot of associational cortex areas. You can stimulate in temporal lobe, and people will really have interesting associations, memories of songs and things like that will come out. Internal capsule, this is that huge nerve bundles that are coming from the motor cortex back down. There's that thalamus, so it's sort of a big ball in the center that's full of different nuclei that are relaying between primary sensory cortex and the actual sensory inputs, so your brain can modulate. There's the corpus callosum, so from a side view you can see it's it sort of wraps around. So there's the anterior corpus callosum and the posterior corpus callosum. They call them the splenium versus the genu, which means knee of the corpus callosum. So they'll sort of name the different ends of it. There's the occipital lobe sitting down here. So it's getting all that input from the eye going through this optic chiasm to the LGN, lateral geniculate nucleus of the thalamus, and then projecting to the visual cortex. People who actually have tumors will get blind in certain areas, and by looking to see where the blindness is, you can often determine where that tumor is. Corpus callosum. So here, I'm going to go through this pathway once again because we're seeing it now that after we've looked at the brain. So here's the corticospinal tract. So here is from primary motor cortex. So primary motor cortex is post or pre-central gyrus. So this is the planning area. This is the pre-central gyrus. That's right. And now it's going through those nerves, then actually project through. This is so motor cortex through the internal capsule, and now this is the big foot of the cerebrum into the spinal cord. So it's called the cerebral peduncle. And then it goes through the medullary pyramids. So those are that really, on the top of the medulla, you see these big, thick tracts. Those are medullary pyramids. They make sort of a big triangle towards the bottom here. And then they decussate. They go through the decussation and then down into the corticospinal tract, which is that lateral dorsal tract, and then through the ventral horn and out through the ventral root to the muscles. So that's the pathway going from the brain all the way down to the muscle.